Maya, Liam, and Emma wandered deeper into the forest after Jay's disappearance. They encountered twisted realities, voices mimicking them, a ranger-like man with white eyes warning, "Only one walks out alive," and a creature wearing human skin. Emma began losing touch with reality, whispering to something in the trees. Liam grew silent and distant. Maya struggled to hold them together, but the forest fed on their fear and secrets. In the end, they were broken. And it was only just beginning. They hadn't seen the sky in days. The air had changed, not just in scent, but in substance. It was thicker now, almost like breathing in water. Time was slipping. Trees shifted when no one looked. Voices came from above and below. The line between dream and memory was gone. Maya kept trying to keep track of time, marking tally lines into her notebook. But the pages were empty every morning. Emma now spoke in rhymes. She claimed they weren't walking through the forest anymore. The forest was walking through them. Liam had stopped sleeping. He sat awake at night with his back to the others, eyes wide, mumbling to himself. And Maya, she was beginning to forget her own voice. They came upon a stream they'd crossed before, only now the water ran black. Floating in it were feathers, broken teeth, and small handprints made of ash. Emma leaned over the water and whispered, "She's getting closer." Maya snapped, "Who?" Emma didn't answer, but a second voice replied from the trees, "You." They ran deeper into the belly of the forest, following paths that twisted into impossible spirals. Trees grew in circles, roots tangled like veins. At one point, the group passed a massive stone arch they were sure they'd never seen before. On the arch were carvings, scenes of people entering the forest, each carving deeper and darker than the last. In the final panel, a single person stood outside the woods, surrounded by the shadows of their friends. Emma said, "I've seen this before, in a dream, and we're the last carving." Maya tried to stay focused. She told them they needed to find a high place, a hill, a cliff, a tower, anything to see above the canopy. They eventually found an old fire tower, its ladder rusted and broken. Still they climbed, step after step, until they reached the top. And what they saw shattered hope completely. There was no end. The forest stretched out endlessly in every direction, not just horizontally, but vertically too. Above them, massive tree roots twisted through the sky like veins. Below them, the ground pulsed like flesh. The forest had no edge, no horizon. It was a world within itself. Emma muttered, "We never left the first night. We're still there, asleep. Maybe we died already." Then Maya looked through the tower's binoculars and saw herself. standing in a clearing, smiling, bleeding from the eyes. The binoculars snapped apart in her hands. They descended the tower in silence, and that night, the forest changed completely. It wasn't trees anymore. It was hallways, rusted metal, flickering lights, hospital gurneys covered in roots. The ground was tiled. The trees were gone. The smell of antiseptic and rot filled the air. Emma cried, "I don't want to be here again." Maya asked, "Again? What is this place?" But Emma didn't answer. Instead, she reached for the wall, and it bled. They wandered the sterile forest hospital for hours, passing empty patient rooms, windows that showed things they'd never seen. Maya as a child screaming in a hospital bed. Liam sitting in a dark room surrounded by dozens of versions of himself. Emma floating above a crib, whispering lullabies backwards. Eventually, they reached a chamber where 3 doors stood, each labeled with their names. Maya, Liam, Emma. Emma stepped forward. "She told me this was the final test. One of us has to stay." Maya tried to stop her, but Emma pushed open her door and disappeared into blinding light. The door shut, then faded into the wall. Now only 2 doors remained. Maya screamed her name, pounded the wall, begged for Emma to return. But there was only silence. She turned to Liam, who looked calm for the first time in days. "It's me," he said. "It's always been me." But Maya wasn't ready to give up. She refused to choose. She screamed into the forest, cursed it, threatened it. The world around her began to shift violently. The hallway crumbled. Trees burst through the walls. The sky above tore open to reveal a mouth, massive and dark, filled with teeth made of screaming faces. The forest wasn't punishing them. It was feeding off their decisions. And it was hungry. Maya grabbed Liam's hand and ran. The doors crumbled behind them. The forest turned inside out, flashing between memories, fears, false images. Maya saw her dead brother, her childhood bedroom, her mother whispering secrets into a grave. She held on to Liam, grounding herself, forcing them both through the madness. At last, a clearing, a field of white grass, and a single rusted gate. The same gate they entered through. But the sign was different now. It read, "Exit granted. One soul." Maya turned to Liam. He stared at her with hollow eyes. "It's me," he said again. Maya asked, "Why?" He replied, "Because I never existed in the first place." He smiled, not maliciously, not sadly, just knowingly. And then he faded, like dust in wind. Staggered through the gate, collapsing on a paved road. Bright sunlight, the sound of traffic, real air. A voice asking her, question, "Miss, are you all right? Miss?" She wakes in a hospital days later. The doctors say she was found in a remote area with no memory of how she got there. No other hikers, no missing persons, no evidence of a forest. They show her the footage she claims to have recorded. It's all static, except one frame, one still image of her, standing in front of the gate, smiling, bleeding from the eyes. She screams. Later that night, at home, she sees something carved into her bedroom mirror. Only one walks out alive. The screen fades to black. A whisper echoes faintly. We never left. Thank you for watching the terrifying conclusion of Whispering Woods. If this story chilled you to your core, please like, subscribe, and follow for more horror stories like this. Your support helps us bring you deeper into the shadows. This may be the end of Whispering Woods, but the forest never forgets.